I'm Anuradha Sinha. I'm retired and I live in a retirement complex in Bangalore since my husband's death. My husband Sanjay passed away suddenly in 2017. And since then, naturally, the responsibility of maintaining our finances came on me. I was teaching English literature language all these years. My life, I would say, it is picture perfect. It is all that I imagined a retirement should be. The only missing part in this is my husband's presence. I remember on the second day after his death, I woke up in the middle of the night and I realized that my husband was not there in the bed next to me. That's probably when it stuck, that he was never ever going to be there. Instead of going back to the bed, I went to the study table, sat down, and started creating a to-do list. In hindsight, I think it was probably then, that I realized what a great deal of responsibility had shifted to my shoulders. So that list, you believe it or not, became a long list of 42 odd items, which has taken me about 2 years to get them all in order. So, after Sanjay passed away, till then I had an idea that we had money at several places, but where exactly it was, I didn't have an idea. So, that is when I realized that a huge chunk of it was lying in his Provident Fund. And Provident Fund associated with 8 different organizations that he had worked with. And then there were several bank accounts. Then there were mutual fund investments through different banks and a real estate, of course, and stocks of the companies that my husband had worked with. And additionally, there was also both medical and life insurance. This created a huge spectrum where the money was spread out. So I still remember. So when Sanjay passed away, we were in Calcutta. And it took me about 15 days to wrap up things from there and move back to Gurgaon, which was our home. The first thing I did after arriving was to visit State Bank of India to close the account. And second, I remember we had taken a house loan from HDFC. That visit, going to that bank and asking him to give me back the papers of my house. So that again was very, very liberating decision, that just by paying a check, giving him a check of mere 16 lakh rupees, I had the control of my life, my home in my hands. So we had a booklet at home called What My Family Must Know. So I naturally, the first thing I did was I opened that and I discovered that our wealth was scattered in these 5, 6 different sectors. And we had a file at home where my husband had meticulously filed, all the documents. I remember that was the second thing I did after closing my bank accounts. So there was this gentleman who used to help us in investments. So I called Ravi home and I was going through the file with him systematically. So this is an experience I'll never ever forget. And I started saying, oh, I think we have withdrawn that. So let's remove this from the file because the file looked bulky. And I remember Ramesh telling me, no, he yelled, no, don't even touch a single paper. And I would like to quote what he said. He says, ma'am, in my experience, I have seen money crawling out of nooks and crannies. And he said, I'm going to write a mail to them and find out that if the investment still existed or not. That's when I saw magic happening. Within 6, 8 months, we started getting replies from various places. So, as overwhelming as it was having to discover that now the whole responsibility of managing my finances lies on me, it was equally overwhelming when I realized the amount of money I had. So I had two options. One was to hire a person to invest it for me while I go back to work. And the other option was, why don't I myself look after my money? So that is when I took the decision of not going back to my work to earn money, but to create money from my own wealth. And I think that decision has gone a long way in helping me be where I am today. So, as far as the real estate is concerned, we had two apartments, one in Gurgaon and one on the outskirts of Gurgaon, which was actually in a retirement complex similar to the one where I'm living. And once I visited that, I was very certain that I'm never ever going to live in that house alone. So, in which case, it did not make any sense to retain it because the rent it fetched was too less. So, I thought it more prudent to sell the apartment and invest that money in mutual funds. Basic logic behind this decision was, uh, I'd heard people say invariably that fools buy houses and intelligent people live in that. Somehow it resonated with me. It made sense that now that I was alone, why do I need so many houses? Money would be much more handy. Other apartment that I retain in Gurgaon, there are various reasons behind it. One of them is that it's in a prime location. I see Gurgaon only progressing in the next 20 years. We bought it 15 years ago at a measly sum of 27 lakhs. And today I know the cost of the apartment is 3 CR plus. So I only see it going up. So once, as far as the bank accounts are concerned, once I had transferred all the money from different accounts to my solo independent account. So another tip that really helped me, I was informed by a close friend that I must make sure to meticulously file the last ITR of my husband. While that process itself was not too difficult. However, despite all my care that I had taken, uh, I encountered a hitch or an obstacle, whatever you may call it, when my refund could not be processed. And this amount was substantial. It was about 12 lakh rupees. And we regularly discovered one hitch after another, and there was no way that it could be. So, this took a little bit more perseverance and follow up. And in this case, what finally helped me was the amount of effort I had put in getting my husband's provident fund. That's when I had discovered that I was also entitled to what is known as employee family provident fund. And for that to be given to me, Provident Fund Department had issued me a, a order, Provident Fund order. So when nothing else worked in the IT department, by which I could prove that I was my husband's widow, I finally asked them if a letter given by one department of government would be valid to another department. So that provident fund order, pension order, that is what was accepted, and I was able to claim my 12 lakh rupees. Sold one in apartment and invested the proceeds in mutual fund, EPF, PPF again in mutual funds. Also, all the money realized from various insurances, both medical and life insurance, were also allocated to the mutual funds. With Sanjay, we were majorly invested in mutual funds. The portfolio looked something like about 40% in mutual funds, 30% in real estate, 10% in gold, my jewelry and all, a chunk of money in PF, around 10%, which had consolidated over a period of 20 to 25 odd years. And the smaller two chunks was 5% each in stocks and saving accounts in banks and all that, liquid. And I saw what my portfolio looked like. There was no misalignment or red flags. It was just that my situation had changed. The invested portfolio that I had received, at that point of time, there were 3 working professionals in the house. And now one income had stopped completely. And 2 people were working. And I also had to take care of the future. So my need had changed. That is when we decided to go a little more aggressive. My current portfolio is basically split between these 3 sects. So 60% in mutual funds, 35% in real estate, and about 5% in jewelry, because I've sold all the gold and I'm just left with few diamonds. That's it, which I wear on my own. So my current income to maintain the lifestyle that I have comes from systematic withdrawal from my mutual funds. I take out about 1.5 lakh every month from my mutual funds, and another lakh from my apartment in Gurgaon, which has been leased. Between these two, I live a very comfortable life, and I can afford any number of holidays that I want to take. I get rent from my Gurgaon apartment, and I utilize that same money in paying the rent here. Though I can well afford to buy this apartment, doesn't seem to make any sense to me. So the 1 CR that I would have invested in buying an apartment here, I have it invested in the market, and the money that comes from that investment funds my lifestyle. So from my personal experience of losing my husband, the 3 things which helped me sail through these difficult times, as hard as it was. One was that we had a physical list of all the passwords. And these were the passwords which were shared easily. And the second thing, everyone must have a marriage certificate. It saves a lot of trouble, lot of trouble. And the third is you need to have more than 1 copy of the death certificate, because every step that you take, everyone would want an original death certificate. In my journey, the financial advisor played a big role, because Ramesh not only helped me in procuring or claiming my money from various places, also I think the fact that he could advise me what to do when I did not have a sense of what was happening around me gave me a lot of strength and courage, and it kind of empowered me when I saw that, if I follow a particular pattern and if I try and claim things through a particular channel, tedious as the process may be, but it does bear result.